Dan is going to introduce our featured topic today, which is Your Vote Counts.
I don't know about you, but I often feel when it comes to elections that it is a total waste of time. I was talking to a good friend of mine, very close friend of mine, I won't mention his name, but his initials are Mother Dave. And he said, I'm just going to vote Democratic, which I totally relate to. Getting to know the issues, the candidates, and their history is a real challenge for me. So I thought maybe all of us together can come up with some encouragement for each other on how to do this. And so I went to the League of Women Voters. They're troublemakers from the word go, I hope. And they came up with these 7 steps that are up there. So does anybody have any suggestions on how to, all of these things, for instance, the positions that I am concerned about, gun control, free medical care for everybody, education for everybody. Now, they call that being a socialist. I don't care what your name you call it or anything else like this. I care about people. If I go to the candidates today, I won't see anything on those issues unless somebody can help me here and how they go about doing that. No, okay.
Well, we're going to go through.
I know, but
Yeah, today.
rather than good. Bernie Sanders is my, yeah, but I don't get to vote for him. So I send Bernie and I send Andrew Yang money because I like what they're talking about. But I'm talking about candidates I vote. That's exactly how I make a difference by sending $10 or something like that on a regular basis.
Who Bernie Sanders supports that you do vote for.
Bernie lets me know almost every day.
For people that you vote for, not what he's doing, but he tells you in Illinois, in your district, at every government level.
So all the emails that I get, and if you get emails like you're suggesting, let me know where that's from, because I get all these emails to vote in somebody else's district. I don't believe that I should influence other people's district. I respect people.
How did you find that out?
Yeah.
Website and then put your address on the people you said you recommend.
I get Bernie Sanders as well, and I also get every Democratic candidate and organization that asks us to help support candidates so that we can have, and I'm only saying this because I do not get any information from Republicans. I would put it in there if I did. But they want us to help keep the Senate and keep the House at the federal level, as well as what Fran is going to demonstrate, I believe, at the local level, how we can influence legislators that would vote on the 3 topics that Dan brought up, as well as others. And you can look up their voting records. You can look up, there's many websites that aren't on here.
Oh, yeah. Right.
That will tell you what people's voting records are or their leadership style. And at the Illinois Board of Election level, it will tell you what the job requirements and duties are. You can balance that with their track record of bills they have signed on to or proposed that reflect your values. So it depends how deep you want to go into it, but there's all kinds of resources that will help tell you what reflects your values, where you want your tax dollars spent.
Okay, that's what I hear all the time, but, my experience is much different. Gun control, for instance, other than Bernie. Bernie's for gun control, by the way. I mean, for much more free on use of guns and stuff. He comes from Vermont, right? It's a different, that's why I don't like to go and support my candidates in Wisconsin or California. That's not my job. My job is here. And that's what I think it's all about winning. I gave up on winning a long time ago when I began to realize I can't win this game. But I can express what I think is important in my values and system.
I think we mentioned something like gun control, because I grew up in Wisconsin, where people used to hunt rabbits and deer. But if you use the guns they buy today, they're automatic, they're just gonna blow the whole animal away. I mean, there's a difference between what gun control meant then, and you know, what the word gun represents then versus what gun represents now.
Which brings up a question, is there such a thing that a legislation that we can do for the whole country that in this area? I don't think there is. My father was a hunter, my brother was a hunter and all that other stuff.
The people with lots of money are supporting their candidates in your district. So it's only fair that you support your candidate in their district.
What was that? I didn't hear.
It was echoing.
People with lots of money are supporting their candidates in your district. So why shouldn't you support your candidate in their district?
Well, okay, because my brother Dave jumps in the lake doesn't mean I'm gonna jump in the lake after him. I might send out a lifesaver to him if he wants to grab it. Good luck. I'm not responsible for what other people do, okay? That's the thing. And I'm not about winning. I'm about supporting people that I think are doing the right thing, oftentimes losing, but anyway, that's the different way of doing it, right? Any other thoughts on?
If your candidate does not win, then you do not have the possibility of the legislative action to have a bill become law, whether it is state, local, or national. So I cannot understand the concept that you don't care about winning.
Yeah.
I just can't. You have to explain it better to me. I just don't understand it.
I don't think if we took a vote today on an issue, we should have more pie for dessert, okay? I believe that our group conscience, when we all get a chance to vote and express our opinion for this group, which is different than the grammar school down the way where we got a different age and different, all this other stuff, is valid. What I think we need, I don't tell other people what to do, is basically what I'm trying to say. And I try not to stop other people from doing what they believe is right. But I also want to do what I think is right. It's not about winning. Okay. I know if I'm running a CBS or media, I got to get your attention. So I got to make this a good battle and get your emotions all stirred up and everything else like that. And that's a good way to get you involved. Betting, I'm all against betting, okay? Sports, casinos and all this other stuff. Because it has nothing to do with sanity. It has to do with emotional being on the right side alone. I know that's heretical in today's world.
Well, I just want to suggest something. I'm against AR-15s and all these military style weapons that are legal and commonly available throughout the United States. And I read that the collective unconscious of the country is about 90% with me on this issue. I would like to know if there's any effective way I can can pursue a program of anti-AR-15s that will attract an actual vote against them.
Then we're winning.
Well, in this
No.
case, absolutely winning. Well, I mean, I would like to win that vote against the AR-15.
So,
And I have the majority of the country with me on this issue. So there must be some technical something, I don't know, change of the Constitution, but I don't believe that. I believe the Constitution is against that. I mean, the blunderbuss that they said we could all use and keep forever is so much different than the AR-15 is today.
so my brother brings up a good point. On almost every one of these, I hate to admit that. On almost every one of these issues, healthcare, all 80% of the people want these things and we never get them. There's something wrong with the system. Let's move to the next slide unless anybody else thinks of particularly, okay. What I think we need is a report card for candidates.
I think that leadership part goes partly to what you were saying about, or what Dave was saying about, 90% of the people want something in particular, a particular issue. Yet they're not voting on it, even if you vote for somebody who supports that issue. When it comes to voting, do they vote what you hope they would vote for? And that's part of the leadership.
So the question I have, the reason I thought this was an important slide for you, does anybody know of such a report card that I can go to online or anything else like that?
Well, isn't that pretty individualized? Because
Well, there is the website Injustice for Judges. And it will give you pluses, minuses, and a red flag. And that talks about their voting, their judicial
Injustice Watch.
efforts.
And we're gonna go there. Okay,
Yeah.
so we don't need to talk about that right now.
But
Right,
it has,
it's not a report card
it is a report.
on judges,
Yes. You
not
want
on the
it,
issues that I'm concerned about.
well, the judges determine a lot of things that.
Yeah, I'm not saying I'm not interested in the judges. I'm saying that, yes, the judge, candidates, finding a candidate. Okay, here,
Their
I was a teacher.
complaints
Hold
as
on.
a judge,
wait a minute. I was a teacher for 20 years, and my job was to grade children. Looking back at it, it's the worst thing I ever did in my life. To tell a child that he's anything but the best thing in the world is a sin, as far as I'm concerned. Why? But in a system where it's all about competition, getting jobs and position in society, that doesn't work. Not every kid can't be valued. I can go on and on for this, but we love to report on kids or people in jail or people we think we have control over. I fund these candidates. When they get elected, I'm the one that's sending dollars to keep them in business. But nowhere do I get a chance to really, okay. Hopefully our voting system does this. I don't see it doing it, that's what I'm saying. Enough, unless somebody else says. Mike,
And one thing that really frustrates me has to do with number 3, like who's running the first campaign. Because I look at some of these ads that are on TV, and many of them are very, very unfair and untrue and inaccurate. And there are those who are not like us, listening to details about how to find out about the candidates and such, who listen to what's in the ads, and they vote according to inaccuracies. And so that's why it's frustrating, because if you have.
that's why we're doing this today.
but
That kind of information. If you know how to get to it, it's out there,
Mhm.
but you have to search for it.
Right, right.
And you have to know what you want to get out of what you see. That's why you need a report card, know what you want from your candidate.
If anybody finds a good report, a general report, not on judges, on the candidates, I would love to see a copy. And unless anybody else has something else they want to say about this, let's move on. Chat.
No, I'm trying to get this to.
Well, I don't know if you know who Heather Cox Richardson is. She writes a newsletter every day. But just to your point, Mike, disinformation seems to be the hallmark of what our media is all about, actually. Okay.
Okay. So that brings us to our researching. Ta-da. Okay. All right. Today's topic, your vote counts. Our goal is to help you be an informed voter. If you only get your information from TV commercials and mailers, you are probably not getting what you want and need to know, and you're missing a lot of important information about your candidates. Voting has consequences, as we know. So you want to vote for candidates who share your own values and desires for the future, and to do that, you need to be an informed voter. Today, we're going to look at a couple websites that'll help you get information on what offices and judgeships are on your ballot, who the candidates are, and straightforward information on them and by them. The handout that you have is exactly what we're going to be doing today, step by step. So when you get home and you want to try it on your own computer, you know how to do that. If you want to get on the Wi-Fi of the church, it's posted over there on the pillar.
Good.
When you get home and you start working with this, if you have any questions or you run into a problem or a snag, just email me and I'll be glad to help you. Just email the same one that email box that you get the notices from, that I get that.
And we're going to put this recording of today's meeting online.
Yeah, so you'll have several ways to access this. Okay, so let's explore. Fasten your seatbelts. Here we go. Okay, we're going to start with ballot ready, because that one's got the most information, and that's the one we're going to spend the most time on. Okay, so the first box here, elected and appointed officials, that's that list of all the different things that you're going to find on the ballot this time. It's a long list, double-sided. So there's a lot to vote for. We're not going to go over everybody. We're just going to show you the method of how to do these things. So you start here with this box right here, research your ballot. So we're going to click on that. This is where you would put in your home address. So I'll put in my home address, and we'll get a ballot. Now you look over here on the left, you see my voter guide. These are the various categories that are going to be on your ballot. So let's look at the first one on the list, because we're not going to go through them all, because as you saw from the handout, there's a lot of them. So let's see who's federal. Federal, let's try the US Senate. Who's running for the Senate? Well, we know Tammy Duckworth's running because she's the incumbent. You might not know Kathy Salvi, she's a Republican. I'm sure you probably don't know Bill Redpath, he's a Libertarian. So there's 3 candidates that you will see on your ballot. Let's take a look. And this page tells you, a little detail about US Senate, Illinois. Well, we know that. So let's look at Redpath. And what his page is going to show you first is his experience, what he's been doing. After that, his education. And this area right here is where they have asked the candidates questions on these particular topics. Let's say, criminal justice, public safety. This is his answer on that question. So you can go to each one of them and know what his position is on that particular issue. If you have information, you can submit their information, your information, and they can evaluate it. Right down here, you have 100
0.
possible selections on your ballot over here. And we haven't made any of them. We're not going to make any on this particular one. And then it tells you where they get their information. And since it's so small, I'll read it for you. We aggregate information from candidates' websites, social media, endorsers, and boards of election to help you cast an informed vote. If no information is displayed for a candidate, the information online did not meet our researchers' criteria and was not included. If we go back up to the top, you'll see under Bill Redpath's name right here, a link. That link gives you, takes you to Bill Redpath's own webpage. And it might not work here on Zoom, but I can tell you that his webpage is basically a donation page. So that's how you go ahead and research on Ballot Ready. And you can save each person. If you make a choice, you save it, and it's going to add it to your ballot. And at the end, you can print out a ballot for yourself. The judgeships, we're going to talk about separately. There's state candidates on this list. There's local candidates, judicial candidates, which we'll talk about separately, and measures. You see this measures down at the bottom? Okay, we're going to click on that one. There's going to be a vote on an amendment. It's called the Workers' Rights Amendment.
Oh,
The
yeah.
proposed amendment, which takes effect upon approval by the voters to the Bill of Rights of the Illinois Constitution.
Home.
The new section will guarantee workers the fundamental right to organize and to bargain collectively and to negotiate safety conditions, wages, hours, working conditions, and economic welfare. The amendment prohibits the passage of any new law within the state that restricts or prohibits workers from engaging in collective bargaining with their employer over wages, hours, and other terms and conditions of employment like safety protocols and training. And it's a straight yes, no vote. And if you scroll down a little bit, it gives you what does a yes vote mean? What does a no vote mean? Why vote yes? Why vote no? And you can, once again, as I said, click on yes or no and add it to your ballot. Okay. Right, I think we've gone through a lot of the things pretty fast. Does anybody have any questions on Ballot Ready before we move on? There's a lot of information. I'm just giving you one office, one candidate, just as an example. But you can do the same thing for each and every one of the candidates or that are on this ballot. And then if you want to have a ballot to carry into with you to the voting booth, you know, you can print one out and have it ready for the day you vote or the day you do your mail-in ballot.
This could take a lot of time.
Yeah, it could save a lot of time. Plus, you know who you're voting for and why you're voting for him as opposed to some other him. But if you remember last voting period, we had David Orr here who gave us some very interesting information. This is his website. He doesn't do much with candidates as such, but issues. So if you want some issue information, some background information, this is one of the websites that's interesting to go to just to have it in your back pocket. Yeah. Now, if you were like me, I used to just go and vote for the candidates that I knew, and the judgeships I, knew nothing about, and I just totally skipped it. Well, we know how important judges are now. We can't skip that anymore. There's a wonderful website called Injustice Watch. And I told you about that last time, but let's I'll ask you your address again. So I'm in District 8 subcircuit, and you probably are too. That's pretty much most of the north side of Chicago. You scroll down, the next thing you see is these icons, and they divide up their icons by, if you have a exclamation point, that means this guy has had a past controversy. If you see a judge's icon, that means he was appointed. He wasn't voted in, he was appointed in. The little negative sign, that's pretty self-explanatory. They gave him a negative rating. Or a plus sign, they gave him a highly qualified rating. But they also tell you, is he a current or former prosecutor? If that's of interest to you. Or if he was a current or former public defender, if that's of interest to you. And also they tell you if he was a Democratic Party pick. That may be of interest to you as well. So you scroll down, and the first one that I will see on my list is this appellate court for the hall vacancy, and there's 3 people. And you see their ratings for each one. And over here to the right, there's a little icon called info. If you click on info, that tells you about that particular candidate. This name is Russ Hardigan. It tells you if he's working with a law firm, if he's been a judge, various law firms, law school, notable for community involvement, candidate survey, ratings and why, and I'm going back to that. And down here is one that's very interesting. Campaign finance. Yes. And we'll get even more into the weeds in the next website, but it tells you the major donors to his campaign, which can be very interesting. Also, I wanted to mention here on the info page, let me get back to it, on this Russ Hardigan. We're almost done here. I know this is a lot to take in a short period of time. It tells you where the rating section is, which bar associations. There's all kinds of bar associations. Arab American, Chicago Council of Lawyers, Hellenic Bar Association, LGBT Chicago Bar Association, Puerto Rican Women's Bar Association. So if you're interested in, and want to rely on a particular group's bar association, it shows it here, but on the next website we're going to go to, it shows it even better. So that's Injustice Watch. The next one is Vote for Judges. It's similar, but not, it sorts the information in a different way. Right here, where it says Alliance of Bar Associations Evaluation Results, that's what we were going to want to click on. And this has them all, it doesn't do it by area. Once again, their different bar associations are listed right here at the beginning. Their recommendation system, how do you qualify, qualified, not recommended, et cetera. You can look when you get at home. But what's interesting about this site, say you're interested, let's take the first bar association. If you want to know the Arab American Bar Association and which one of the judges they think are the best judges, here's the column. You see this first column, AARB, AR. That's the Arab American Bar Association. And you just go right down the line to find the judge. And you could see some of them clearly are not recommended by anybody. And that shows you that right there in red. Some of them, like this one is Sean T. Rains Welch. She's recommended and qualified by some and not recommended by others. That means she might have issues with particular groups of people. You don't know. But this will tell you. So this is a very interesting website to go to if you want to just check out the judges and make sure you're voting for judges, first of all, that are qualified. And if you have a particular interest that you want a judge to be sensitive to try to pick out a judge that bar association has reviewed and thought was qualified. So that's a lot of information. But if you want to get people into office that are going to do what you want to do, you have to vote for people who say they're going to do it. That doesn't necessarily mean they will actually in the crunch do it, but you've done as much as you can do at that point. Well, we know the consequences of not having good politicians in office. So even though it may take some time, it's, you know, you can do your part to get people in that, like I say, have your values and ideas for the future, at least. Okay, well, thank you all for coming. And vote.
Please turn on your glasses.